Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we dive into the latest global news and trends. We have a lot to cover, but first, let's take a look at the situation in Yemen. The country has been embroiled in a decade-long conflict, and recent developments have raised concerns about the potential for further escalation. The Houthi rebel group has been launching attacks on neighboring countries, including Saudi Arabia and Israel, and the United States has been involved in efforts to counter their activities. However, the situation is complex, with multiple factions and interests at play. The UAE and Saudi Arabia, two key U.S. allies, have been backing rival groups within the Yemeni government coalition, which has deepened tensions between them. The Houthis, who are entrenched in mountainous terrain, have proven to be a formidable opponent, and aerial bombardment alone has not been enough to defeat them. Israel has also been involved in the conflict, with Israeli leaders vowing to punish the Houthi leadership for their attacks on Israel. However, further Israeli strikes could rally ordinary Yemenis against Israel and potentially destabilize the region. The U.S. has a strategic interest in preventing a broader conflagration in Yemen, given its location on the Red Sea corridor and proximity to key Gulf allies. To achieve this, the U.S. will need to recommit serious attention to the country, pressing Saudi Arabia and the UAE to de-escalate tensions in the south and come to a common approach to Yemen. A dedicated diplomatic track is also necessary, with the U.S. coordinating with all major stakeholders to map out a revised settlement. This will require addressing the Houthis' concerns, as well as those of other factions, including the Southern Transitional Council, which is demanding greater autonomy for southern Yemen. The stakes are high, and the situation in Yemen has significant implications for regional stability and global security. As we continue to follow this story, it's clear that a nuanced and multifaceted approach will be necessary to bring about a peaceful resolution. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're continuing our coverage of international news, and today we're focusing on the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine. A series of developments have unfolded in recent days, highlighting the complex and often contentious relationship between these two nations. According to reports from the Straits Times, a 30-year-old British man named Hayden Davies has been sentenced by a Russian court for fighting alongside Ukrainian forces. Davies, who allegedly joined the International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine, was captured by Russian forces in winter 2024 and has been found guilty of mercenary activities. The UK government, however, maintains that Davies is a prisoner of war entitled to protection under the Geneva Conventions. In a related story, another British man, James Scott Rees-Anderson, was jailed for 19 years in March for fighting on behalf of Ukraine in western Russia. These incidents have sparked concerns about the treatment of foreign fighters and the use of prisoners of war as political pawns. Meanwhile, a Belarusian citizen named Sergei Yeremayev has been sentenced to 22 years in prison by a Russian military court for blowing up 2 trains in Siberia in 2023. The FSB security service claims that Yeremayev acted on orders from Ukraine's intelligence services, aiming to disrupt railway lines used for military supplies. As we navigate these complex and often conflicting reports, it's essential to approach the situation with nuance and understanding. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has far-reaching implications, and it's crucial to consider multiple perspectives and sources when evaluating the facts. We'll continue to monitor these developments and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, we urge our listeners to remain informed and engaged, seeking out credible sources and diverse viewpoints to deepen their understanding of this critical issue. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I want to bring to your attention a critical update on the ongoing situation in the Gaza Strip. The Israel-Hamas war has left devastating consequences, with over 70,000 Palestinians killed and more than 90% of homes destroyed or damaged, according to the UN. Despite a ceasefire deal being in place, Aid agencies are reporting that Israel is blocking urgently needed assistance, leaving families to suffer through the harsh winter conditions. Mediators. Egypt and Qatar are working tirelessly to facilitate the next steps in the ceasefire agreement, which includes the deployment of an international force to serve as a peacekeeping buffer between Israeli forces and Palestinians. However, the specifics of disarmament and the withdrawal of Israeli troops remain major sticking points in the negotiations. Hamas leaders have expressed willingness to store and lay down weapons, but only if Gaza is not attacked, and if a serious political track is established to end with a Palestinian state. As the situation continues to unfold, it's essential to acknowledge the humanitarian crisis on the ground. Families are struggling to access basic necessities like food, medicine, and shelter. The recent storm that hit Gaza has only exacerbated the issue, with reports of infants dying from the cold and homes collapsing. It's crucial that all parties involved prioritize the well-being and safety of civilians, particularly during this critical period. As we close out today's segment, I want to emphasize the importance of staying informed and engaged on this complex issue. It's only through continued dialogue and a commitment to understanding multiple perspectives that we can work towards a more peaceful and equitable resolution. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.